Hey guys, I'm going to do another really quick video tutorial on how to add lettering to your mug rugs. If you're using Kimberbell files or any other project files, this is still relevant. I didn't get a chance to add it into my last video tutorial, so I thought I would do a separate video and do another brief tutorial. So the trial version of Bernina 9 software comes with 5 or 6 fonts that you can use, and I've already entered them into the screen so you can see the name of the font and what they look like. And there's 2 foreign language fonts, Japanese and Hebrew. And then down here what I've done is I've entered some TrueType fonts that I have installed on my computer that I've had from the past, and you can see that they don't necessarily work well. The proper digitized embroidery fonts are going to look the best. There's a way to edit TrueType fonts if you want to, and Bernina has some videos that give you some beginning tips on how to do that. I just find it fast and easy just to go with the fonts that are already in there. So now that you've seen these fonts, I'll just show you some very quick words and phrases that I have found on Pinterest that I can fit into a mug rug project, and depending on what I want to use them for, maybe warm and cozy would be great with something that had a mug, like a coffee cup on it, whereas Merry and Bright might be great with something with a Christmas tree on it. So you can kind of get the main idea here. This was my favorite font. It's called the Eliza font. It's the only script font that the trial version offered me, so I tended to use that a lot. I've got a little mug rug here that you can already see that I started yesterday, and I had rearranged some of the items from the original design, and now I can add some names and dates and different personalized sentiments on this side if I want to. So there's 2 ways to add lettering to a project. One is very quick and easy, one is a little bit more complex. I'll show you the quick and easy version first. You go to the left hand side of the screen and there's a toolbox called lettering and monogramming. If you left click on that and then left click on lettering and then just use your left click to put your cursor into the screen, you can start typing anything that you want. If you want to have something go on the next line, hit the enter key while you're holding down the shift key, and that'll take you to a new line. And then I'm going to write down Christmas, and then once I'm confident everything I want in this font and this font color is there, hit the enter key and your expression is ready to be placed onto the design. And then you can put it wherever you want. You can reposition it, and you can change the thread color by just selecting in the color film, selecting the expression and putting it into a different color. That's really important, especially if you want it to stitch out as a separate step. If you chose any thread color in here that's already inside, it could potentially stitch out at the same time as that other thread color. You can see there's some orange here, but I presume that it's a different color of orange than I've got here. Otherwise, this Merry Christmas would join that little item in the TV and stitch out at the same time as the same color. So that's just something to keep in mind. So what happens if I want to add something with a different font? This script font was the last font that I used, so I had already pre-selected that, so that was the font that was going to show up when I just started adding lettering using this lettering icon. So the other way to add lettering is in the edit toolbar. So I'm going to collapse this and go to edit, and once you select the edit toolbar, you go all the way down to the bottom and go to stitch edit. And if I left click on that and then I go to settings, on the top here there's a settings tab, and then the first item in the drop down menu, object properties. You left click on that. Now you can enter the text that you want in this text box and select any font that you've already installed on your computer. So if I just write Merry Christmas here, or how about Happy New Year. So I enter the text with my keyboard in the text box, and then now I'm going to just pick from the different fonts that I have available to me. Everything that's showing up with a red satin stitch are embroidery fonts, and everything that's showing up with TT in blue are the TrueType fonts. So let's just say I want to put in here just to make this very fast, how about the Blackboard font? And here I can change the height, width, I can turn it into italic, I can change the letter spacing, I can left justify, right justify, or center. I can put the text on a path so it shows on a curve. It can go vertical. There's 6 different ways that you can put the text onto a path. And I'm just going to keep it basic and leave it as the default size and the default everything in here just to make this fast. So once I enter the text, I choose the font, I select apply by left clicking, and then select OK by left clicking. And then as you can see, that Merry Christmas in that new font is still not showing up. You have to do one final thing, which is to left click your mouse using the cursor on the grid section of the screen, and then there the item shows up that you had just entered into that text box and in the font and the font size that you selected. And then you can start to rotate this and start making some design decisions. It looks a bit big, so you can go back in and edit the font size. So you simply go back into settings and object properties, and then you can put the font to, let's just say 0.35, say apply and OK. Now it's much smaller and it will fit into the project a lot better, and I could start building up the text and rearranging it and centering things or whatever I want to do. It's as simple as that. And so what I thought I would do during the trial period is to just, because I don't really know in advance all the things I want to say, I created separate files using the fonts that I liked, and put a separate file for each name of my family member. I created a separate file for holiday expressions, birthday expressions, all these different expressions I thought I might want to have in the future. And you can definitely do that during the trial period, and there's no restriction on your use of the files you create with the software trial out into the future. There's no lock or anything put on it. You'll have access to those files that you create indefinitely. So it's really, really simple. I'll just start a new design to show you how to save individual expressions and then add it to a project file. So I'm going to go back into, I'm going to collapse this edit toolbar and go back into lettering, and then left click on lettering again and enter happy birthday, let's just say. And then I hit the enter key. Okay, so now it appears in the last font that I had selected, and let's just say I'm happy with that. Then I'm going to go up here to my hoop icon and right click on that and make sure the right machine is selected and the right hoop is selected. In this case, it makes sense to put it in my 4x4 hoop, and then if you want it to automatic center, it's by this hoop position is by default set to automatic centering, and you select OK. And then if you left click on hoop, you can see that it will be automatically centered in the 4x4 hoop. You can see that this design is outside the sewing field for a 4x4 hoop, so if I wanted to use this, it would be better to put it inside of a 5x7 hoop. So I'll select the 5x7 hoop, and now it's centered and it fits within the sewing field where these red lines are for my 5x7 hoop. So maybe let's just say I think I'm going to use this for a mug rug in the future, and I'm going to change the orientation this way, and let's just say I'm happy with that, so I'll click out of this and then I'll say File, Save As, and I'll just say happy birthday. And sometimes what I'll do in adding to the file name is the name of the font that I chose for this, just for reference. Sometimes it's kind of neat to know what font you used. So I'll just keep it as happy birthday, leave it on my desktop, and then I'll just choose save. And then I'm going to close this now, and then I'll go back to the mug rug and show you how simple it is to insert that saved text file. So I go to my embroidery insert icon here, or I can go to File and choose Insert Embroidery. Either one works. This one is just very quick and easy, Embroidery Insert. And then since I left that on my desktop, I will take, just basically go where you stored that file and select that file, and you can see the preview of it here. And you can select Open, and then there it is. It will just appear right there into your project, and you can start adding different expressions that you've created as separate files into other project files. So if I wanted to take this Merry Christmas, and I could use the Shift key and group these together by right-clicking and choosing Group, then now I could save this as a separate file, and it will stay together as a complete expression, Merry Christmas. And I could save it just like I saved the Happy Birthday, and then use the Embroidery Insert feature to put it into any project that I wanted to work on in the future. So each of these files are saved as ART files, but I could also save them as EXP files, so that you're offering yourself some flexibility depending on what software you might eventually end up with. You might want to have both file types for your machine, the one file type for your machine that can be read by the machine, and the other file type that can be read by the software that you're using. So the final thing I thought I would say in terms of embroidery lettering is that I could not find a nice embroidery font that I felt confident to buy and install on my computer to use during this trial period. All of the main companies that sell embroidery designs online, they don't generally tend to offer embroidery fonts. And then the companies that are smaller, that have online websites that do offer embroidery fonts, none of them are showing a stitch out of the font on fabric. And I learned a long time ago, buying things like SVG files on Etsy, if you only see the computer generated JPEG file, for example, and it looks so perfect, but it's not actually cut out on paper, you really don't know what you're getting until you see the actual stitch out of the font on fabric, because it can look beautiful if it's just entered into the computer, but you really don't know what you're getting until you actually see it stitched out on fabric. So I've kind of created a rule of thumb for myself: don't buy an embroidery font unless the seller is showing me what it looks like stitched out on fabric. The company that built this software for Bernina, the Wilcom company, they produce a very similar software program like this Bernina software. It's called Wilcom Hatch, and it's selling for about the same price point as the truncated version of this full software that you're seeing here from Bernina. It's their Creator Edition. It's selling for about the same price point as the Wilcom Hatch. Both are going for about $1,000. So if you go in the direction of Wilcom Hatch, there's a couple of benefits there. They sell a lot of embroidery fonts that you can use, and they're fonts that can only work with the Hatch embroidery software. I don't know why they did that, but as far as I can tell, they're called ESA fonts, and they're only compatible with Hatch embroidery. That's what I'm picking up on. So other than the beautiful font or embroidery alphabet fonts that I saw on Hatch, through the Hatch or John Deere Legacy, I believe, who sells those. One of the two. They're sort of, one is John Deere develops a lot of embroidery designs and offers digitizing classes, and he develops those for Wilcom Hatch and possibly Wilcom too. So anyways, I felt that the easiest part of this process of lettering was actually doing the lettering. The most difficult, challenging part I found was finding amazing embroidery fonts. So I thought Kimberbell did a really great job. They seem pretty invested in having a wide variety of embroidery fonts and then using those to build up really cute text phrases and words. But you ultimately can't customize this without embroidery software. So let's just say you wanted to put the name of someone that you want to gift this to. you're not going to be able to do that until you have embroidery software. So that's one of the neat things about this trial, is you can do that. And I love the text and the phrase they had in this mug rug, but let's just say I'm giving this to somebody and I want to say something else to them, and what I say is the message that I want to send as a part of the gift, something personal and unique from me to that person, and making it more personal. And that's the neat thing about this embroidery software. So if you're heading into the holidays and you wanted to use your embroidery machine but you don't have the software yet, this is a fun little way to customize your projects, and hopefully I've shown you how to get up and running very, very quickly, and you won't have to spend a lot of time studying all the different videos that Bernina has up on their YouTube channel. So I said this in my last video, they don't have a lot of tutorials on how to use the version 9 software. It just came out in the beginning of October, or the end of October, I'm sorry. However, I do know they're planning on offering a lot of instructional videos for how to do lettering in the version 9, and that's up and coming. And so, but what I found is most of the tutorials that they offer to show you how to use version 8 are still very, very relevant for version 9. What I found is that some of these icons changed a little bit, but they're still the same icons. So for example, in version 9, in order to adjust the height and width of an item, or the position of the item and the stitch player, it's all in this little drop down menu, whereas in version 8 it wasn't a drop down menu, it was just on the full display. So that was just one thing that I just sort of had to figure out where to find, and it just came through opening up every toolbar and just seeing what each toolbar had, and then just clicking on each item and seeing what they all did, and whatever I could learn from just doing that to get myself oriented, it was sort of helpful. So there are a few tips to make yourself get acclimated to this software interface a lot faster, and I meant to include that, but I think I'll do that on a separate and final video. So I'll stop for now, and I will see you guys on the next video.